You are listening to Parenting Our Future with certified parent coach Robin McMahon, author of The Yelling Cure and founder of Parenting for Connection. My podcast is all about providing you with the tools and solutions you need in your parenting so you can create the family you always wanted. For more information on my book and other resources, check out yellingcurebook.com. And if you like my show, then I want to tell you about a hilarious parenting podcast called What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. It's hosted by Amy and Margaret, who are both comedians and moms of three. But that's where the similarities end, because Margaret is laid back to the max and Amy loves making lists and planning ahead. In each episode of What Fresh Hell, Amy and Margaret wrestle with a common parenting issue using research, lively debate, and tons of humor. So if you're stuck at home right now with your kids, this is the perfect escape. Check out What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood wherever you listen to podcasts or at whatfreshhellpodcast.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's Robin here. Welcome to Parenting Our Future. All right, everyone, listen up. We got to talk about something serious, really serious. And it's probably best if you don't have little ears around right now, because what we're going to talk about is pornography. And I have a really special guest that I am really honored to have. And any of you listening, it is an honor to listen to an expert like this talk about protecting our kids from pornography. So I have Kristen Jensen here, and she's the author of the best-selling Good Pictures, Bad Pictures series of read aloud books. She has sold over 150,000 copies worldwide in 5 different languages, and her books are a valuable resource to help children develop an internal filter against inappropriate content. She is the founder of Protect Young Minds, an organization dedicated to helping parents empower their kids with tools to resist and reject pornography, including the new Brain Defense, which is a digital safety curriculum for elementary students. Kristen is an active member in the Safeguard Alliance of the National Coalition to End Sexual Exploitation and has testified before the Washington State Senate Law and Justice Committee on the public health crisis of pornography. Now, she is an activist in this area. She is knowledgeable in this area, and she's also a mom of 3 and a grandma to 2. So she is all well-rounded here. And so I just really want to welcome you. Thank you so much for being here and talking to me and my listeners.
It's great to be here with you, Robin, as well. I'm always excited to speak with parents about this topic, because it's such a taboo topic. It's difficult, but I feel like we've got some resources that have made it easier.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, when this came across my desk and your publicist, suggested you as a guest for my show, I thought, well, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how comfortable I am with that. And ultimately, my choice is to, and my mission is really to educate people. And look, I'm not an expert in this area. You are, and let's talk about it, right? Because if this really is a crisis, if this is really something that is really hurting our children, we have to talk about it. Hiding about it doesn't matter how uncomfortable we are. If it's a reality, we got to address it, right?
Right. We have to make sure that to give kids a chance, right? To give them a chance so that they're not caught off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Kids that are caught off guard when they see it, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to respond, and they don't know that they can talk to their parents about it. They don't know who to talk to about it. And so why not open that conversation just like you would other kinds of dangers that, are realities in this world?
Mm-hmm.
And why not be open about it and make sure that they know that they can come to you and talk to you about it. We've got lots of resources to help parents be comfortable. And so I think we owe it to our kids. No child deserves to face the porn industry alone.
Oh my gosh. And here's the thing. I think that if a child sees a bad picture, which we'll talk about the difference between a bad and a good picture, they may think that they're bad because they've seen it. Right. And so then they don't want to tell their parent because they did something bad and they don't want to get in trouble. Right. But
the shame factor.
Yes, but the reality is that if you have a device, you have access to porn, period.
That's right.
Right? Our kids
Yep.
need to be protected and educated. So we can't ignore this issue, can we?
No, we can't. We've tried that, and it hasn't worked very well.
Yeah. So just shoving it under the rug is not the right way to handle it, is
yeah,
it?
or the cross your fingers, I hope my kids never see it. I hope my kids are, just somehow they won't see it until the day after I decide to talk to them about it. Or I hope my kids just intuitively know to stay away from it. And kids are biological human beings. They are drawn to certain kinds of, they're curious. So, good kids get pulled into pornography. It has nothing to do with how good they are. It has to do with how prepared they are.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about this. So let's talk about what you define as good pictures and bad pictures.
Sure. So that was one of the things that we start off with in good pictures, bad pictures, is that definition. And every child needs a definition, a warning, and a plan. So the first thing, the definition. How do you define pornography for a child even before you've had the sex talks, right? How do you help them understand what it is without going into all this detail? So I think you just need to give them enough information so they recognize it. So the definition that I use in both my books is something like this. Pornography means pictures or videos or even cartoons of people with little or no clothing on that focus on the private parts of the body that we keep covered with the swimsuit. Now, I get it. You want to be able to take your kid to an art museum. If you go to Europe, yeah, you're going to see a lot of nude statues over there. However, if your child is on the internet and they see nudity, probably not the Sistine Chapel, right?
Right.
So I think you probably want to know about it, correct?
Yeah.
So that's the definition that we start off with. And of course, as they get older, you can expand on that. But they need to know how to recognize it. And obviously, good pictures are pictures of the beautiful things in our world, the people that we love, and the places we visited. Those are edifying, those are good, those are positive. And pornography is just toxic and objectifying and has become very violent. I think that, a lot of us may not realize how violent pornography has become and how easy it is to get access to this material, which is so degrading to women. And so, for young children to be exposed to this material, it's almost easier to find that kind of stuff than, softcore stuff anymore on the internet or in social media. So we need to give kids a chance by helping them develop an internal filter, one that goes with them wherever they go. Because we can lock down as well, as much as possible our own devices, but once they leave the door, once they walk out the door, they need an internal filter. So we want to talk to them, again, to give them a definition, a warning of how it can affect their young minds, and a plan of what to do when they see it.
So, I mean, definitely having a plan is absolutely what you need. And I know what you talk about and what you share, and we're going to talk about that. But I think it's really important, you just said that porn is getting more violent. And I have to be honest, I mean, I don't know that because I don't look at it. I don't know that it's getting more violent. And that is a scary thing to hear. And, one of the things that I've always said to my kids is, when they want to watch like a movie that they can't, and I'll always say, like, you can't unsee it. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it, right? And so tell. This is what I learned in your book is how we are wired with this attraction part of our brain. Can you tell us why porn has a special grip on us.
Yeah, it's the perfect poison in a sense for a growing young mind, because we are naturally wired to be interested and curious, and as we grow, to be attracted to the opposite sex, to be attracted to nudity. I mean, that is a biological reality. But
Right.
pornography takes total advantage of it, and sexualizes our young children prematurely. One guy I talked to, he said that when he was 5 or 6 years old, he had taken his, the Victoria's Secret, ads that came in the mail, and the catalogs, he'd ripped out pictures and hidden them under his Thomas the Train set. Okay, so you realize that you don't think a 6-year-old would be going there.
Yeah.
But they can, that part of their brain can be awakened. So, when you think about yesteryear of Playboy, right? You had the centerfold, right? You had these still pictures of women that were nude, that were very, sexual, hypersexual. But now you've got full-on color, streaming videos of, and I don't know that you want me to describe what's in them, but it's multiple partners. It's, women, like I said, I'm not sure you really want me to describe what's this, but it's.
I mean, I think we can use our imaginations, right? I mean, I think probably most people have an idea of what we're talking about, and it's actors. It's not real,
Right.
and yeah,
and they really explore every fetish that they could even imagine. The reason it's gotten so violent is because turns out that when you put violence with sex, you get a bigger dopamine rush in the brain.
Oh my goodness.
Okay? So how do you make something continue to be more and more addicting? Now with drugs and alcohol, you start off with beer, and then you progress and you progress, and an addict will progress to harder and harder, liquor, oftentimes, or drugs, more and more and more, and try to get to that same, high. They're always chasing that high, and it's the same exact process in the brain. Only with pornography, you're getting the drug in through your eyes, and it still excites that dopamine release. But you need more and more of it. You need more extreme forms of it to get the same level of arousal. So people find out, they start with kind of a vanilla porn, just your basic sex scene, and then they kind of progress. They want more and more. They've got to, chase that high, that arousal. And unfortunately, the pornographers, they just keep making more and more violent porn, more and more, and actually they're having a problem because,
who's going to do it?
What can you do to a woman other than just kill her? I mean, on the set. I mean, it's just the torture, the violence that goes on, and it's very disturbing. And for young people to see some of this, even the milder forms of violence, the hitting, the gagging, the hair pulling, and that kind of thing, that's disturbing. They think their parents do that. Is that what sex is all about?
Yeah, it is very confusing. If that is the model of sex that they see, they may not know what normal sex is, right? And I actually do have a friend whose daughter was addicted for a time and questioned her own sexuality because she would watch girls together, and she, I guess, watched girls together. It was softer, a little bit more loving, or whatever. I don't really know, but so I can see that, and teaching them the skills. One of the things you just told me too is that if our kids are seeing this pornography, and when you teach them porn refusal skills, they're also safer against sexual predators.
Right.
That's
Exactly, because
fascinating.
yeah, predators use pornography to, groom children. And
Mhm.
grooming means I'm going to show you some pornography, and it's going to normalize this. You're going to be desensitized to it, so that when I do these things to you, we're going to just train you. Hey, and they show them child porn. We
Oh.
call it child abuse, images, right?
Mm.
Because no child can consent to being, filmed like that. So they show them this. One mom wrote in and said that her 6-year-old, they were over at a friend's house for dinner. The 6-year-old went downstairs with the other kid just to get a toy, and there was a man living in the basement, or renting the basement. The
Mm.
6-year-old went down there. He said, "Hey, come here, I want to show you something." And he showed him uh, some pornography on his phone and said, "Hey, look at this. You're going to love to see this." Well, this man, obviously pedophile, was going to try to, he saw an opportunity with a young child.
Wow.
And the young child came up, and, obviously the parent had these conversations and told the mother. Obviously, right then and there, that boy is now much more protected because he told. So kids are much safer when you tell them about pornography, because it is so often used. And why wouldn't a pedophile use pornography? I mean, it's just an easy way to show kids what you want them to do and to get them desensitized to
Right.
sexual acts.
And saying,
And
well, these kids are doing it, so can you.
yeah, and it's fun.
Ugh.
Can you
Yeah.
see? Can't you see how fun it is?
Oh, wow. Wow. So this kind of leads me into this other question, or really statement to protect your kids, is that if they have seen it, as you're going to, and again, we're going to talk about the steps that you take and that sort of thing. But if they have seen it and they tell you, then that is a red flag for you to go and figure it out right away. Who did they see it from? Right. First, but you also said that there is this new thing that's happening. I don't know if it's new, so tell me if I'm right or not, but where actually pornography creates predators.
Right,
Tell me about
exactly.
that.
Yes, pornography, it's pretty well known and documented that pornography creates a demand. So when you're talking about sex trafficking, it's creating a demand. But we talked about earlier about how children are imitative. Their brains are wired to imitate what they see adults do, right?
Yep.
We see that as parents, our kids say certain things or they do certain things. And sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's a little distressing, when they copy, some of our negative traits. But they see, yeah, when they see pornography, um, some of these kids want to then turn around and try it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, kids are wired to imitate what they see adults do, which
Mm-hmm.
makes pornography a predator in and of itself. One mom contacted me and told me how she was babysitting a 10-year-old boy over the summer. His mom worked and she was a single mom. And so this little 10-year-old boy would come over and she would take care of him during the day. One day, though, after about a month, and there hadn't been any problems, but after about a month, he cajoled her 7-year-old daughter, took her into the bathroom, and tried to do sexual things with her.
Mm-hmm.
And the little girl, they'd had these conversations. She went and told her mom, and the mom, of course, was very distressed, called the boy's mom, and this little boy's mom broke down and said that 3 weeks prior, she had found pornography of every kind on that boy's iPad.
Oh boy.
Okay, so it took at least, after only 3 weeks, that boy wanted to act it out.
Yikes.
With another more vulnerable child. And there's a study done in a hospital in Kansas where It was done by the sexual assault nurse examiners. They found that when kids were brought in, mostly girls were brought in for sexual abuse, they started to document who the perpetrators were. And they found out it was boys ages 11 to 15 was the biggest group.
Oh my goodness.
The biggest demographic, right? And they weren't just doing kind of normal, sexual exploration kinds of things. They were doing things that are very common in pornography. And so we can see this rise, this disturbing rise of child-on-child harmful sexual behavior. Protect Young Minds helped to sponsor a national symposium about a year ago back in DC. And there we heard from a lot of experts. I also spoke on this topic. And, there's a huge problem in the military, on military bases with this. And they sent a lot of people from the military to the symposium to try to figure out how to stop it. And my message was, and the message of others was, pornography. They get access to pornography and they act it out on other kids.
Yeah. And so you said just a moment ago that it's different than normal exploration. So to define that, is that sort of the innocent, I'll show you mine if you show me yours kind of innocent curiosity?
Doctor, yeah.
Playing doctor or that sort of thing. So that's normal, not necessarily a red flag, but definitely something you want to have a conversation about, right?
Right.
I also love that you say, look, our private parts, the parts that we cover with a bathing suit, right? For really simple terms, right? And when you see pictures that are focused on the things that are supposed to stay covered in private, then, that's a bad picture. I want to just clarify, you touched on it, but I really want to clarify, what is the best age to talk to your child about child pornography? And what comes first here, chicken and egg? Which comes first, talking about sex or talking about porn? What comes first, right? Because they're intertwined.
Yeah. I really believe you need to warn children, young children. I think the best age to start talking about pornography or bad pictures is when they first get any access to the internet, because they're vulnerable. As soon as our toddlers know how to walk and run away, we teach them, don't run out into the street, right? Well, how much more important it is that our kids don't know how to, run out into the super highway of the internet and know the dangers there, know what to do. And again, it can be as simple as turn, run, and tell, which is in my junior book. Turn away from it, run and find a trusted adult, and tell them what you saw. So that's, very important for children to know. And I wrote the books with, you don't have to start the sex conversation before you begin this conversation of pornography, because sadly, they will have, access to pornography and the potential. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of, 5-year-olds going to kindergarten on a bus, being exposed by an older child to pornography. I mean, seriously, and it happens. And that's why I say every bus in America, every bus, maybe even in Canada, it is a XXX theater because of, these mobile devices. And so we need to start that conversation. We need to start it early, but we don't have to give them all of, we have all this ugly, dark stuff in our mind about what pornography or all this sexualized stuff in our head. We don't need that. We don't need to give that to our kids. We just need to give them that simple definition so they can recognize it. We need to teach them why it's harmful, so they know why to reject it, and then we need to give them a plan so they know exactly what to do when they see it and they're not caught off guard. And Robin, that is such a gift. One mom posted on Facebook that, and I love this story, I tell it all the time, she read Good Pictures, Bad Pictures to her son, 9 years old. He went to school, and just like 3 days later, one of his classmates, showed him pornography on the cell phone. Mm. And this child knew exactly what to do. He turned away. He went home. He told his mom, and he said, "Mom, I was scared, but I knew what to do."
Oh, love it. I love it.
I knew what to do. And what a gift when we share that burden, because so many children, they see this, they feel the shame. No one's ever talked to them about it. They don't want to get into trouble, and so they don't say a thing. Mm-hmm. And it really is our responsibility to open that conversation with them and to, hold their hand, to be with them in this, and to become, the expert, like on questions. So, hey, you can come to me. We'll read this book together, or we'll have this conversation, and we're going to continue to have these conversations regularly to help them navigate, the digital dangers out there. It's a daunting world.
Well, and I think the reality is that, we cannot ignore it. We cannot shy away from it. Like I said to you before we hit record, geez, even me, I'm pretty open, but it's an uncomfortable conversation to have. And I did have it with my boys. There was a show that I saw on this with Lisa Ling, and I said to them, I said, hey, you guys, by the way, you could see this on your device, and let's talk about that. And one of there's two things I want to say. One of the facts is that addiction to pornography does cause sexual dysfunction, right? And that is real, right? You lose your grip on what is real and what is fantasy and what is like outrageous.
Well, what happens is they're so used to having this extreme arousal with pornography that they can get aroused to pornography and masturbation, masturbating to pornography.
Yeah.
But when they go to have sex with their girlfriend or their wife, they can't have, and they don't have any arousal.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem. It's 33% of men now saying they have ED. Okay.
Really?
I don't think that's all, and younger men. And that is not normal. Usually, that's an old man's vascular disease.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's an older man's vascular disease. But now it's becoming actually kind of a brain issue because they're so topped out on porn, they can't enjoy a normal sexual experience with a real person.
Yeah, that is loving and tender and all sorts of really lovely things, right? Yeah. Well, yes. And so the other point to having these conversations too is that you have seen parents have really beautiful connection with their kids through this conversation. And of course, I mean, that's what I'm all about. My business is called Parenting for Connection. Right. So of course that's my jam right there. But that is a really beautiful.
Yeah. I've had so many parents say that once they had this conversation, that they felt like an increased trust level with their kids. Opening up. I've had parents report that they read the book to their children, and then their children reported, yes, I did see something, but I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to tell you. One mom told of her she's very protective, but she, again, warned her son, he's like 7 years old, went to a neighbor's house, a new family in the neighborhood, and she usually checked out everybody, right? But they had just moved in, and they had a little boy his age, and they just wanted to go pick up his bike so they could go ride their bikes. And she goes, okay, well, how bad could that be? Just go pick up the bike and then come back. Well, went and picked up the bike. They went inside, and when they went inside, the older teenage brother said, hey, come look at this. And pornography. But the 7-year-old had been warned. He knew what to do. He needed to turn away. And he came home, and he told his mom. And she said, we hugged and he told me, and she says, in a way, everything happened according to plan, and it was a beautiful thing. And she helped him through it, and she said it actually brought them closer to, be able to help him. And I would just say, look, this is 2020. There is a problem with porn out there. I wish we could have some laws and restrictions so that kids did not have access to this. But unfortunately, we're not there yet. So we need to be able to help our children through this. We need to live in the world they live in, not the world we grew up in, not the world we wish they were in. We need to just live in the, help them navigate the world that they actually live in. And there's they've done some studies of the naivete gap. So their parents, they did a study and asked parents, have your kids seen porn? 25% of the parents said, yeah, I think my kids have seen porn. Well, then they asked their kids. Guess what? 53% of those kids had seen porn. Mm-hmm. That's double. And when it came to girls, 17% thought their daughters had seen porn. 58% had seen porn. Okay, so girls are in it too. You cannot just have the conversation with your boys. You have to have it with your girls as well. So, and it's a gift. It is a gift. And we can do it. It's not as hard as we make it out to be, especially with the resources that we now have on Protect Young Minds and all the help that we have in the blog. We really make it a lot easier for parents to tackle this tough subject.
You are currently listening to the Parenting Our Future podcast. I'm parent coach Robin McMahon. If you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this message. And please don't forget to subscribe, and I would be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating on iTunes. If you'd like to connect with me, all my details are in the show notes, and for a copy of my book, go to yellingherebook.com. Now back to the show. Okay, let's dive into what we do. Okay, so now I think you did a really great job of explaining, why it's not good, how it's dangerous, how it's escalating. So for those of us that don't know what's out there, trust you, the expert, that it is bad and it's getting worse. So then what is the first thing that we need to do then? We talk to our kids about good pictures, bad pictures, and give us what you recommend are the steps to talking about this and what kids need to do.
Yeah. Well, I would say the first thing is get yourself educated a little bit. And we have a how to talk to kids about pornography quick start guide that's free to download from protectyoungminds.org.
And I'll make sure that's in the show notes so everybody can get that. And it doesn't matter where you live. That is relevant like globally, isn't it?
Yes.
Good.
So I would say just get yourself educated a little bit first thing, and then start those conversations. And if it's too hard, again, the books make it really easy. We also have lots of articles about conversation starters, how to start those conversations. And so just begin. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? The main thing is that you get started and you let your children know that you will help them and that you want them to come to you and ask questions. Whatever questions. And if they hear a term or a phrase at school that they don't understand, come ask me. Don't Google it. They see us Googling everything, right? Well, that can get them into trouble and lead them to material that, they don't want to see, you don't want them to see. So we talked about, teaching kids, how harmful it is. In my junior book, I kind of make the analogy of picture poison. So we teach our kids, don't drink, that, don't eat the Tide Pods, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So we teach them that, And we can teach them to also protect their brains from this, the poison that's out there. In the older version of the book, we teach kids about addiction and how pornography can become easily become an addiction. And there's so much science behind this. There's MRI studies that show that the brain responds to pornography in a porn addict, just like an alcoholic responds to seeing pictures of alcohol. Lights up the reward parts of the brain. Also, they've documented that there is actual brain shrinkage. Now, they've known this in all addicts, right? Cocaine addicts, alcoholics, other, addictions. But they've done now studies at Oxford. No, they've done studies at Cambridge to show that people who are addicted to porn have shrinkage of the prefrontal cortex, which in the book is called the thinking brain, right?
And that's where all the good stuff is. That's reasoning, rational thought, problem solving. That's being able to understand consequences of your actions. It's empathy, compassion. I talk a lot about the brain. I know a lot about it. But yeah, that is and that's also the part of the brain that takes the longest to fully develop. Yeah. So if you are shrinking the brain before it's even fully developed, yikes, that is not a good thing. And I want to jump in and just say something about talking to your kids. One of the things that it's really important to do as a parent is to nurture the relationship with your kids always, so that you can have these conversations, that when something is really serious, that they will come to you, because you don't criticize them, you don't shame them, you don't make fun of them, you don't laugh at them, that you take what they have to say serious, and that you are there to really listen to them and hear them, not to laugh at them or make fun of them or anything like that. So nurturing that relationship, which is all about what I stand for as a parent coach and as a mom myself, is that keeping that relationship solid and good and communication open is what you need to be able to have these conversations with your kids, right? And for them to feel comfortable talking to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So protectyoungminds.com is no, you said it was .org. Sorry.
We got .com or .org, whichever one you like.
Whichever one you like. Okay.
They all go to the same place.
And you did talk before about the strategies, right? And that is turn, run, and tell. So can you sort of break?
Juniors. Yeah.
So that's for the junior. Yep. Sure. For the young kids, yeah. So there's two books that you have, but what is turn, run, and tell, and then then we'll talk about the other strategy as well.
So turn, run, and tell is turn away from the bad pictures, look away, don't keep looking at it. The longer you look at something, the more it's embedded and burned into your brain, right? So turn away. Run means get away from it, right? As quickly as you can, and then go and tell a trusted adult, whether that's your parent, your teacher, your caregiver, and each and every time too. Definitely tell, and that really reduces the shame. And because secrecy is something that we don't want our kids keeping this secret. And in the book, I say never keep bad pictures a secret from your parents. And also, even if you've seen a bad picture, that doesn't make you a bad kid, right? So we want to reduce that shame. So turn, run, and tell. And so that's very simple. I mean, that is only going to help a young child, right?
Absolutely.
That's not going to hurt a kid to know what to do when they see nudity, turn, run, and tell.
And I think that makes perfect sense, how that arms them against predators as well. Makes perfect sense, right? And so then there is one for older kids, and you use the acronym CAN DO. Can we talk about that one?
Yeah, the can-do plan. And again, you can get these posters from my
Love it.
website for free. They definitely, obviously, it's stronger if you read the book,
Yeah,
but
the
we do
book is
still leave the
very
posters.
good. Really, the
Yeah,
book is
thank you.
very good. And sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to just really quickly. What I love about the way you talk about it is you talk about there's a picture where you've got a fist and then the hand over the fist, and you've got the thinking brain and the feeling brain, thinking brain, feeling brain, and that you use the analogy of like running across the street for ice cream while your feeling brain is super excited for the ice cream, but your thinking brain is like, wait, I gotta stop and look both ways before I cross the street. Right?
Right.
That's a great example. I love that
Yeah.
example. How simple is that? So anyway, yeah, and having these tools available is so great. So sorry, can do.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So it's really important for kids to understand how their brain works and how it's affected by addiction and how they can addiction proof their brain. And this really can work for all forms of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So the can-do plan, CAN, is where you start, and that is what you do when you see pornography, when you're exposed to it. So C, close your eyes. A, always tell a trusted adult. N, name it when you see it. Now, Robin, what part of the brain are you using when you label something?
I'm using my thinking brain.
Very good, yay! Yes, you're using your thinking brain. And when kids do those three things, when they're exposed, they have so much more power to negate the bad effects of pornography. So they have more power over that. Now, what happens when pornography, that memory of pornography, pops back up in their brain? What do they do? How do they get rid of that image? I mean, once it's in there, like you said, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can create a neural pathway away from it, right?
Nice.
So
Love
your
it.
brain is constantly remembering it and going to it, and you're focusing on it. That's going to create a big pathway towards the memory of pornography. What you need to do is help your child create a pathway away from it.
Right.
So the D is distract yourself. Help your child come up with something that's exciting for them, that they're interested in. This is going to be different for every child. But if your child loves horses and horseback riding, then when that memory comes to them about pornography, that that terrible video or picture, then they think about horses and horseback riding. And pretty soon, and this takes practice, right? It's not going to work the first, with one time, but as they do it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 times, then the pathway to the pornography is going to grow over like with weeds. It's going to shrink. And
because our brains are use dependent, right?
Right.
If you don't use it, you'll lose it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you create another pathway away from that picture. And this is a cognitive skill, a porn refusal skill that is so important for kids. And I've used it too. I have been inadvertently, exposed to something, and I don't want to keep seeing it. And so I'm using the can-do plan. So, and the O is really all about using that feeling brain, thinking brain model, where you tell where you have your thinking brain talk to your feeling brain. And you say, feeling brain, I know you're curious, I know you're interested, but I'm going to use my thinking brain to stay in control. I'm going to use my thinking brain to, keep safe from addiction. So that's the can-do plan. It's very empowering. It's all based on research, and it works. It just works.
I mean, this is neuroplasticity, right? This is what we know about the brain, that we can rewire the brain. We absolutely can. So I love that you talk about that. I talk about that all the time too. So I love that. And that's so good in so many different areas of our life too, right? And I can imagine you would have come across different things in the work that you do.
I'm pretty good at avoiding it, but there's been a couple of things that, and I think this happens, and they target certain demographics. I'm not in the demographic that they're targeting.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so sometimes as moms or parents, we're like, well, you know, we don't see that stuff. Well, you're not on social media in that age. You're not in that demographic. And they are targeting kids. They
Yeah.
are
Ugh.
targeting them. They're on social media. There's so much on social media. There's so much porn on social media.
Well, there were some videos on YouTube that had, looked like they were Superman or Spider-Man videos, but they actually were not that. And
Right.
I know that's one of the reasons why YouTube has a bunch of changes, right? Even when I post this on YouTube, I have to say, is it for adults or for kids? And define, determine what that is. So
And yeah, YouTube just was forced to do that. They were
forced to,
forced to do that.
but
Yeah.
it's because of people like you,
Good
right?
thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. We've got to
Well,
advocate to
other
protect our children.
people, yeah, other people, I can't take credit for that one, but it's so important that these big tech, they take some responsibility.
Absolutely. So I want to leave off with one last question. And that is, if your child comes to you and says, okay, mom, I saw some pornography. What do you do as a parent then? Do you call the police? What do you do? What do you do?
Yeah, good question. Okay, first of all, I want you to go download our Smart Plan guide from our
Yes.
website because really you need to stay calm. You need to
Okay.
be prepared for this eventuality. You need to stay calm and you need to make a plan and you need to help your children through this. So if someone shows your child pornography, if you find out your child went to their friend's house and someone was looking at pornography there, or they went to a game or in the locker room or wherever, I think the first thing you want to do is just to listen and ask them questions like, how did that make you feel? And really, we have a list of questions that you want to be able to ask them. But first of all, deal with your own emotions, right?
I can imagine spinning out of control inside my own brain, and having that be a challenge to stay calm. So, but I hear what you're saying. Of course, that's the right way to be.
Because the more if you explode on your kids, like, I'm never letting you're never going to play with that kid again.
Yeah.
You're never going to be in the locker room again. We're no sports ever again. That's ridiculous. You can't do that. And so deal with your own emotions first. I had a friend call me up one time. She's just crying and sobbing. I couldn't even understand. I said, do you need me to come to your house? And so she goes, yeah. So I went to her house, had to go in the door myself. She's in the bathroom, like, sobbing. I'm thinking her husband just was killed in a car accident. He just asked for a divorce. He just, what? She found pornography on the 14-year-old, the iPad the 14-year-old was using, okay, her son. And she was beside herself. And the first thing she wanted to do was to go to school, yank him out of school. What have you done?
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Give yourself 24 hours, 48 hours.
Yeah.
To just deal with your own emotions, your fear, your anger, your guilt, your whatever. And calm it down. And then you can approach your child with some questions, and they're much more likely to tell you at least a little bit of the truth at the beginning. And as you stay calm, they may tell you more and more. Rarely in the first conversation does all the truth come out.
Good to
and
know.
we as parents probably know this. It can be little by little, drip, drip, drip. As they trust you not to explode, not to freak out, then you can get more information. Where did you see it? How did this make you feel? And on and on. And as far as calling the police, probably not going to get a lot out of the police. I would say that's unless it's child pornography. That would be when you would
Yeah, I
watch
guess you draw the line if someone showed it to your child and that is a predatory behavior, like an adult, right?
I mean,
But
it
child to
is
child.
yeah, it is actually, I know in many states in the United States, it's actually illegal to show pornography to a child, right?
Mm,
But I don't know if that's the same in every place, right? So you'd have to look at the laws. But I would say the main thing is you've got to persuade your child that this is going to be harmful to them in the long run, that this can be an addiction, that this can, I think every teenage boy should know that this can become, a sexual dysfunction. Yeah, serious problem that may take months and even years to reverse. Okay.
Well, and what it's so funny what I heard you say about when you talk to your child is to not use your feeling brain, use your thinking brain. So parents, do as you teach as well with your kids, right? And don't and if you can't be calm, you're absolutely right. Not everything has to be dealt with in the moment. It can wait. It can sit for another minute or two until you get your head straight and do a little bit of research. And so you have this quick SMART guide, which is before your child has been exposed for as far as you know. And then there is the SMART plan guide, which is for parents whose child has been exposed to it. So,
or if you want to be prepared, right?
Or
for
if
the
you want
eventuality.
to, right.
The eventuality. Both of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, it's pretty, I don't know. If your child is 12 and they haven't seen pornography, they're an outlier.
All right. Well, I've got some investigating to do on my end here as soon as we're done here. But I really want to say thank you to you for being here. I think you are an invaluable resource to talk to us about something that A, we're uncomfortable with, B, we may or may not know a lot about, but C is an absolute reality. And you are so right. We cannot parent our kids based on the way we were back then. And it doesn't matter. Like, the digital age is here. We have no choice but to embrace it. And the thing is, that I tell parents is that we are pioneers in this world. So we aren't getting everything right. Things are coming at us so fast. We don't always know, which is why having someone like you create content to help us protect our kids and to provide it to people, whether it's in your book or it's on your website, is so appreciated. So I just really want to thank you for making a difference in the lives of all of us. Like, you're really making a huge difference, and that just means a lot to us. Can really,
I just want to send, I want to send my love out to all the parents that are listening. I really, my heart goes out to you. It's a tough job, but you're up to this. You can do this. And we've got resources to help you. And honestly, it's so much easier to do the prevention than the intervention later on. So much easier to start young than to try to have, with a 3-year-old than a 13-year-old, although it's never too late.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, and you can do it, and really, it gets easier.
Well, that is fantastic. Thank you. Yeah. I look forward to the day where there are more regulations in place, and this, is not such a scary thing, but as we know, it is. It's been around for a long, long time. So instead of being a victim of it, let's be proactive and protect them. And thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your time today.
You're so welcome, Robin.
Thank you for listening to this edition of my podcast, Parenting Our Future. I'm parent coach Robin McMahon, and if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe, and if you like my work, I'd be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating. For those of you who like my content and want more, visit me at yellingcurebook.com to get your copy of my book and to find other resources to help you. Until next time, I am wishing you and your family peace and connection.